All right, welcome to this week's little bonus video. We're going to talk about the reveals from the EX starter decks from Japan, as well as our little experience in NAIC. So it's going to be kind of a double feature today. Um, Mostly because the starter decks were kind of awful. Most of the cards in here are bulk, but we're going to hit them anyway just in case they have some niche uses. And then NAIC was a blast, so we'll definitely want to talk about that. I have Ryan here today to help talk about all this stuff. It's just the two of us. The rest of us, everyone else that was at NAIC with us is not here, unfortunately, so they won't be able to share their parts of the story, but we'll cover ours. We're going to start out with his Rowlet, which is a nice, quick, basic that does 20 damage for single grass energy. We have Dartrix, shoot through, so a little bit of spread damage, not too bad. And then Decidueye. Decidueye has the untethered ability. I believe we have an official translation for that now. I believe it's like move freely or freedom to move or something along those lines. It's same idea. Now, once during your turn, you may use this ability. If this Pokemon is on your bench, you may switch it with your active Pokemon. Or if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may switch it with one of your bench Pokemon. So basically, you can either switch it to the active spot or out of the active spot with the ability, depending on where it is. That's not awful, but it is a stage 2.
I do like that ability. I don't like the attack damage though,
The attack damage is painful. Hunting Arrow does 130 damage,
especially for a stage 2
and then it does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Yeah, if it weren't a stage 2, if it were a basic Pokemon, this would be really, really good.
How would you feel if it was 190 damage and then 30 to one of your opponent's bench?
I think it would be a lot better. 190 would actually be okay. Not great, but okay.
But I mean, like dealing say this does 200, 220, and then 30 to one of your bench. That I feel like that would be a little too much, especially for a starter deck.
Yeah. Well, for a starter deck for sure, but we're talking about potentially playable cards,
Yeah.
and this just isn't it. The effect is cool, but if you want some sort of switch in, switch out, I think you're probably better off playing Solgaleo from Celebration. That does the rush in, and then you can just use the air balloon from 151 once that's out to retreat it out.
Woo.
We have Smoliv, Doliv, and Arboliva. So pretty basic stuff here with Absorb, Sunny Wind, so some healing effect. Then Arboliva has Healing Fruit, so your mass healing stuff for an attack.
And the Arboliva from Scarlet and Violet base is just better.
Yeah, I think that's pretty true. And then it's got a 2 retreat cost. Pokebeach has an error here, but yeah, it's not good. Victini has Strafe, does 30 damage, and you switch with one of your bench Pokemon, and then Victory Flame for 220, and then it can't attack. So fairly bog standard attack for a basic Pokemon like this.
Yeah.
Big damage, can attack for 3 energy. That's pretty common. They're probably just better attackers, but I don't think it's awful.
It's not awful, especially for fire, as a basic, just big hit fire attacker. Because, we don't really have a lot of those basic big hit fire Pokemon really anymore.
Yeah, 220 is not terrible. And then you're going to switch in and out most likely anyway. It's got a 1 retreat cost, which isn't too bad. I could see this being something you might play in a Charizard deck, just to have a basic attacker. But at the same time, you have probably better options and stuff like Moltres.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't love it, but it's not. It could be a lot worse. It could definitely be a lot worse. We have Litwick and Lampent along with Chandelure. So Fire Breathing, Luring Flame, and Chain Burning. So Chain Burning says this is 10 damage plus 50 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's going to be pretty easily played around, unfortunately.
That could be good in GLC, depending on the GLC deck that you're going up against. If you're going up against grass, if you're going up against grass, you're already going to hit it for weakness. This is just going to make you hit that higher damage output. Especially if they have the Venusaur from Detective Pikachu out, where all your grasses now count as 2.
I feel like this just isn't the other Chandelure better though in GLC.
It is.
Yeah, I don't think you play that. And then Chakradet Armourouge. Armourouge has the ability Incandescent Armor. If this Pokemon is in the active spot and is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, even if this Pokemon is knocked out, the attacking Pokemon is now burned.
I do like that for GLC.
And then this is supposed to be Steam Artillery, not Steam Armor. Steam Artillery does 70 damage, so very, very basic. I don't really like the burn thing, and even for GLC,
I
I think you'd rather
mean,
just use the one that moves energy.
yeah, but like if you're trying to do like a
Oh,
damage, like a very high, like even like when you attack into me, you take damage. DLC, just throw a Rocky helmet on this thing.
yeah, and I don't think it's good enough. And then I was just thinking too, with regard to Victini, we have Entei. Entei V is just
Oh
better.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever a reason you run the
And
Victini.
it takes one less to attack with Entei.
Yeah, and it has Burning Rondo, which is or not Burning Rondo, the fleet-footed.
It's fleet-footed.
Fleet-footed, just use that. That's better. Lapras has Hail, does 10 damage to
This
each of
one's
your
got
opponent's
more HP.
Pokemon, and Freezing Wind has 100 damage. So it's pretty meh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have liked that if it was for 2 water.
If you guys hear popping in the background, we are recording this on the 4th of July, and people don't know that it is not yet midnight, so they're just going crazy.
It's
Just keep that
better
in mind.
than where I used to live. Where I used to live, they used to set it 2 weeks off prior, leading up to it, and also a week after.
So you have Frogadier, and Greninjax. Greninja has Stealthy Shuriken, does 40 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, and then Strong Steam Slash does 120 plus. So 120 damage, and then if your opponent's active Pokemon already has any damage counters on it, it does 120 more. So damage wise, it's not terrible, but you do have to have that damage on there first.
I do like this, especially as a stage 2, especially for the HP that it has.
300 is pretty low for a stage 2.
This is normally like what, like 320,
320 to
340?
330, yeah, 320 340. I also think that Blastoise from 151 is just much better.
Oh, well, yeah.
So it's a tough sell for this, and like maybe if we had water duplicates Frogadier, we'd be okay, or if there were like a good single prize Greninja, but there's not. There's no real sell for this Greninja. Wiglet and Wug Trio. Wug Trio has Tangle and Squeeze, does 50 damage during your opponent's next turn, and defending Pokemon can't retreat. That is some of the bulkiest of bulk.
Literally just use the Articuno. That does what, like 90? No, it does 70 damage, and then they're
Paralysis.
paralyzed.
Yeah, it's better.
Just use that because it's a basic.
So we have some awesome Magnemite,
Mm.
Magneton, and Magnezone artwork.
Dude, I like that Magnet.
That Magnezone's art actually reminds me a lot of, I think it's Black and White era. It's really cool. Pretty basic stuff on the Magnemite and Magneton. I really like this Magnemite's art though. Magna Reject, 50 damage. And you have basically you can force your opponent to switch their active Pokemon, and then 180 on Thunder. So then you do 30 damage yourself. Maybe if we get a really good Magnezone X, but this is actually not too bad as a partner with the current Magnezone.
I just don't see us getting at Magnezone X anytime soon since we had one in base set.
Right, and the one in base set is pretty niche as it is. But if you play this in a deck that's already running the other Magnezone, maybe it's not the worst thing. It's just not that good either. Tadbulb and Bellybolt. Bellybolt has Electrobullet, so it's more spread damage. So 70 damage, and then it does 30 to one of your opponent's benched. I mean, that's interesting as a spread attacker in 3-4-5, but even in 3-4-5, I think that's kind of underwhelming damage.
Just run Pacha. Just run my Pachirisu.
Yeah, Pachirisu's better. And then Miraidon, we have a new Miraidon X. Miraidon's got Quick Draw, so don't shoot cards, and then Techno Turbo.
It's like I like the artwork on it. I just don't like the attacks.
Yeah, and then attach a basic Lightning Energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. Maybe if the attachment were on the first attack instead of this one, but you have to already have 3 Lightning Energy on this thing. It's just not good.
I could see people probably were doing like maybe a 2-1, maybe 2-2 split between, or a 3-1 split between the old one and this one once Dynamoto rotates.
I don't even see that, honestly. It's just bad. If that, like I said, if it were on the first one, cool. But like it does have free retreat too, which is nice. But it's a 2-prizer. You can use Cyclozar for the same thing. Clefairy, double hit, says bulk. Clefable, Lunar Zone. Your Pokemon in play that have any psychic energy attached to them have no retreat cost. And then
like that.
Moon Magic, 120 damage. Move any amount of psychic energy from your Pokemon to your other Pokemon any way you like. So you can use the Clefairy. I believe it's from. It's not Silver Tempest, right? It's earlier than that.
Are you
Is it
talking
Astral
about the
Radiance? The one that pulls it when they're in the active spot?
that? I think that might be Silver Tempest. It's either Simple Tempest or
Let's look real quick. We got this cropping hard, but we're gonna go in on it anyway. We're gonna pull it up. Yeah, Moon Watching Party. It's in Lost
this
Origin.
Lost.
Lost Origin. So this is the one that you'd pair it with most likely. Basically, if you're in the active spot, you can search your deck for a lightning energy and attach it to each of your Clefairy, which is not too bad. You can pair that up with this and then move the energy around as you see fit. 170 isn't huge damage, but 260 isn't too bad for a stage 1. So
I mean, you can pair this with Zashan from Celebrations pretty easily,
yeah, you
or
could.
even the
But then the argument becomes, well, why
just
wouldn't you
run
just run
Guardian.
Gardevoir? Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of rough. All right, we got Snubble and Gramble. Gramble is bulk, just 160, and then recoil damage. Mawile is 30 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon. So with Gardevoir, you could attach... With Gardevoir and the Charm, you could attach, what, 7 energies to it? So 210?
Not bad for a single prize attacker.
No, it's not bad. Meh. Koraidon has split beam, does 20 and 20, and then 230, and then does damage to itself. These are both really bad. Which, I mean, it makes sense, right? They're starter deck Pokemon, but oof. We have Drillbur. Drillbur does 10 plus, 10, and then if you get heads on a coin flip, you get 10 more. Toadschool and Toadscroll. Double Whip, 100. See, again, coin flip stuff. The Pooper himself, Paldean Wooper. Spit Poison. Love that art, though. Spit Poison just poisons the active Pokemon. And then Paldean Clodsire. Look at that. Live Clodsire reaction. 20 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned during your opponent's next turn. Defending Pokemon can't retreat. And then 100 damage. Discard the top card of your opponent's deck. So, pretty underwhelming.
I feel like if it was like 120 or 130, it would be.
It's a stage 1 though. Like it's just for 3 energy. That's really underwhelming. Houndour, Houndoom X. Houndoom has Wicked Claws, does 90 damage to defending Pokemon. It's a basic, it can't attack during your next turn. That's very interesting, because you can Dark Patch attach. This powered up, 270 is not terrible damage, or is not terrible HP, rather. 90 damage is not great, though, which is a little rough, but it can wall out basic Pokemon, which is something, at least. Maybe if we get a baby Houndoom that's really good, we'll be able to power this up and use it for something useful. And then Hound Fangs does 220 and then 30 to itself. So hurting yourself to do okay damage doesn't feel great. Skarmory does 20 and 120, and then Can't You Still Slash? So pretty basic stuff. This is kind of a theme of this starter set. Really not anything especially exciting, I don't think. Excadrill, literally, it's a stage 1 that does 60 for 1. Epitome of design, everyone. Togedemaru. If Togedemaru has a coin flip, so you can protect yourself with Defense Curl and then 50 damage. Meltan evolves into Melmetal X. Melmetal has Metal Absorption, so project 2 Metal Energy and attach them to this Pokemon. That's not too bad. And then Full Metal Knuckle does 90 damage. Plus 30 more damage for each Metal Energy attached to this Pokemon. So you can pair this up with Magnezone from Astral Radiance or Lost Origin, I can't remember which set, that pulls the energy from the top 6 and then spreads it out.
Could you imagine if we also had Metal Saucer still in format?
Yeah, this attack cost, though, is obscene. I don't see that ever seeing play because of how high that is. 300 damage, or 300 HP rather, on a stage 1, though, is not shabby. But then again, Caparajah is just better, so meh. We get Sister Teeny, Dragonair, and Dragonite. Dragonite is yet another coin flip guy. So Wing Attack for 70 for a single energy, and then Meteor Break. Meteor Break does 140 damage, and then you flip a coin. If heads, this attack does 140 more damage. So you could do 280 damage if you're lucky.
Give me the die.
It's on a coin flip, and it's a stage 2. Like, no. Drampa does 60 damage, and then its attack does 10 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. Sure, it's going to get knocked out. Lillipup, Herdier, and Stoutland. Stoutland has Chomp Chomp Panic. This attack does 50 damage for each colorless in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. So this is basically a Stage 2 version of Leafeon with just as few cards supporting it. It is for a single energy, which is kind of nice, but meh. And unfortunately, it's got 160 HP, so it can't even be used in 3, 4, 5. Got too much HP. Audino has Find a Friend, search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. That is a heat art, but Bullfidon. Love that art. It's really good art. Has the ability Buffer. This Pokemon takes 20 less damage from attacks after applying weakness and resistance. And then it has Damage Rush. Flip a coin until you get tails. This attack does 30 more damage for each heads. Yikes. Just yikes. Squelvit, Sneak a Bite. Discard the top card from your opponent's deck and Gentle Slap for 10. So nothing great.
Just use the Nestash one.
Yeah, absolutely Nestash over that. And then green has Get Greedy. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may put those cards into your hand or discard them and draw 3 cards. That's not too bad. I mean, granted, if you're using it on a stage 1, you're probably losing already, but it's a decent attack for what it is. Foolish Rolling does 210, and then you can't use it during your next turn. So that's pretty common phrase for a lot of these Pokemon, unfortunately. Just can't use it next turn, 210. Maybe if we get triple acceleration energy back, that would be good. Or at least okay. Lechonk and Oinkalone. Oinkalone has Hula Hula Perfume. Does 30 damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. I wish that were for a single energy, but it's for a DTE, which meh. And then Immersion Kick does 160 damage, and then flip a coin if tails this Pokemon also does 60 damage to itself. So it's really bad. Basically, you do 160 and have a 50% chance to do half your damage, half your health in damage to yourself. So this is the new stuff from the EX Starter decks. This will become part of our Obsidian Flame set in May. If you are not familiar with what cards that are coming out in that set, do check out the links in the description, justinbezo.com, and look at Obsidian Flames. You have all these cards plus all the other stuff that's in the set so far that we know about in that link. But we're going to take a quick break from here, and we'll be right back with a quick recap of our trip to NAIC in Columbus, Ohio. See you right in a second. And we are back. Let's talk about NAIC, shall we?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So NAIC obviously was a blast. Huge tournament. Great opportunity for me in particular just to meet people and say hi. I know Ryan was going in with the idea of actually being competitive. I will admit I was not. I fully expected to go 3 drop. I failed at that, but we'll talk about that when we get a little bit further in. But yes, this is our little recap of NAIC 2023. We're going to start out first with my packing experience and how my cats, Iro and Toph, absolutely did not want me to go. As you can tell by these glowing eyes as they have both decided they need to weigh down my luggage. Yes, they are Toph's the one on the left, Iro on the right. They did not want me to go. And I'll tell you, when I got back, they were glad I was back.
Well, one of them was at least.
Yeah, well, one of them was more glad to see you than me. But she's weird. Then we have a little group photo here at NAIC. Me on the left, Christian, Tiff, Ryan, who I have here with me, and then Mariano and his mother. This is our group that we traveled with, played with. Pretty much everyone except Mariano's mom has tested on stream at least a few times. Tiff and Mariano test the least with us, but they do jump in occasionally. But yeah, this is more or less the group that we play with. Big old inflatable Pikachu outside. Gonna throw that in for good measure.
Yeah.
Then we have kind of the lines. I want to say this is the entrance line for day 1. Is that right? I think it is, right?
I believe so.
Pretty sure this is the entrance line for day 1. This still doesn't quite show how insane the lines were at NAIC. I know Pokemon tried their damnedest to keep them down, but holy crap, is when you have like 4,000 people trying to enter the same room all at once and they all have to go through baggage check, it takes some time. And boy, was it a lot of people. Yeah, but this is Ryan and I. You might recognize the picture on the left from me saying, "Hey, I'm in the playroom." This is right before round one went up. Trying to meet people. This is Ryan in the little tunnel they had, the Crystal Cave. That was pretty cool. A little bright in there for me, but it's still pretty fun. And then just to kind of get a little bit of a grasp at how many people were there. This is part of the venue. This isn't even the whole thing. This is actually, you can see it cuts off the whole right side of the venue. It's probably another 200-300 seats there at least.
Do you want to talk about how many players there were?
So there were about 19. Was it 1987 masters? Was that right?
It was
Or 1897.
It was 1,897 master
For trading card game
TCG player participants.
And then it was like another. It was roughly another 400 seniors. And
Yeah.
Like, it was like 100 juniors.
From my understanding, there were still so little seniors that every single senior they decided to make day 2.
Yeah, they split it so that juniors and seniors all played day 2.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of interesting. But yeah, that aside, there was just so many freaking people.
That's just the TCG portions. Like we don't even know I don't know what the full count on Go or VGC was.
Or Unite. Keep in mind Unite's there
or
too.
yeah, or Unite. And then on top of that, you also have spectators. Like from my understanding, from what I was told, that every single badge, including spectators, all sold out for this event.
That does not surprise me.
Like,
and the lines for the Pokemon Center were obscene.
Yes, as somebody that was waiting in a couple of those, yeah.
Yeah, you were trying real hard to get that backpack.
Yeah, I eventually got it, but
yeah. Well, thankfully Christian helped with that too. But yeah, it was a bit much. But yeah, you see all the people. I think it is interesting too, because like the Pokemon Center in particular had a real big problem with like just the sheer volume of people that wanted to go through it. But by the time we left on Saturday, or like Sunday morning rather, Sunday evening, I'll get the right mix eventually. By the time we left the venue on Sunday afternoon, like it was picked clean.
Yeah.
There was nothing in there anymore.
There's a lot of stuff that I'm glad that I was able to pick up Thursday, because later on I never saw it. Like the Sinnoh poster, they had region posters, and I was able to pick up a Sinnoh one because even though I've been playing since Red and Yellow, so the Special Pikachu edition, I'm mainly at heart a Gen 4 person. I love Diamond and Pearl. I love the Sinnoh region Pokemon, so I was like, I had to pick up this.
So we both played in the event itself. I'm going to start out with my lists. I went 2-3 drop. So I failed to go 0-3 drop, but I did manage to go 2-3 drop. Round 1, I faced an Arceus Geraldon Umbreon player, which was a fairly easy matchup with this list. 2-0'd them. Round 2, I actually went against the Mirror, and they had played the deck before. I hadn't. So for the record, I went in originally expecting to play Chen Pao. I talked to one of my friends. Actually, he's not in any of the pictures. I just realized. He's not in any of these pictures, because he wasn't there day one that we were there. He wasn't there Wednesday. That's why he's not in any of those pictures. But
he came in Wednesday night.
He came in after we taken all those pictures. Anyway, but yeah, so I talked to him. We were talking about stuff, trying to figure out how he wanted to solidify his Law Zone list. And I was looking at the matchup spreads on Trainer Hill and went, I am not playing Chen Pao. This deck is going to fail me before I fail it. So I went with Art Giratina, which I kind of anticipated maybe wanting to play anyway. So I actually had taken the shell with me up to Columbus. I ended up realizing, yes, I did indeed want to play Giratina. So I swapped to it. I had not played any games with this list at all prior to bringing it to NAIC. I literally threw it together the morning or the day before we left to go fly up to Columbus. That was exciting. Threw it together, played some games with it at NAIC. My first matches were against that Geraldine player round 1. Round 2, I got absolutely steamrolled by One of the player, my round 2 opponent. I can't remember his name at the moment. Um, but yeah, I got steamrolled in the mirror. Round 3. Don't remember what my round 3 was.
Let me see.
Let's see. Was it Mew?
Let's see. NAIC.
I think it was Mew because I won that game. That was Fusion Mew. So that's interesting because I won against
round 3 was Fusion Mew.
Yeah, so round 3 I was against Fusion Mew. Fusion Mew I didn't set up very well game 1 and it ended up going to him. And then game 2 he like conceded early. Like I wasn't doing that hot, but I guess he thought I was, and he was doing okay. And so he scooped early to try to save time so that we could finish the 3rd game. But I think if he'd just stuck it out another couple more minutes, he probably would have won the game 2 and taken the series with it.
I just feel like, because like a couple of my opponents also, like I mean, the position that they were in, like it was just scoop and just go. Except for the one that intentionally decided to end the match in a draw.
Yeah,
that's not fun.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like they would have won that one, but we went to a game 2. He didn't like how he was setting up game 2, so he kind of just bailed early, and then game 3 I overwhelmed him by taking knockouts too fast, so it didn't end up working out in his favor because I ended up taking it shortly before time was called actually. So that was fun, and then rounds 4 and 5 were against Single Strike Lugia, which unfortunately is not a very good matchup for me with his deck, and I kind of got steamrolled in both of those matches. And then, of course, at that point, I had 3 losses, so it was just a drop for me. But like I said, I wasn't there to be competitive. I was there just to have some fun and meet people, and I did that. Props to all my opponents for being great players, for being great sports, and for saying, hey, they recognized me, or at least recognized my name. So that was cool.
I was gonna say, do you want to talk about mine before we move to it?
What do you mean?
I was gonna say, like, you got any words before we move to mine?
No, not really. We're gonna move to yours next. So next up we have Ryan's deck list. We'll talk about him and his opponents. So this is Ryan's build of Fusion Mew. This is what he ran with at NAIC this year. And your record was 522.
522, top 256. I placed 254th out of almost 19,000.
1900. 19,000 would be obscene.
1900.
Yes.
Masters division players. I honestly went into this event not actually really to be competitive. I just wanted to give Mew one final last hurrah before it rotates next year, because Mew was outside of the original Chunky Pikachu. Was my original favorite Pokemon. Like, as generations progress, you add more favorite Pokemon to your list, but Mew was my original. I've had a lot of playtesting with this at our local scene. Everybody knows me as a Mew player.
Hell, you started joining when we started testing Fusion Strike. It's when you joined the testing group for Justin Basil, which is funny because you basically never stopped playing it.
Yeah, like I have gone through probably at least 50 plus different versions of this list of me just nonstop tinkering it. Like, and I think it was our League Cup, I even ran a Misfortune Sister in there, just literally for this Lugia and Lost Zone, and everybody was like, dude, you always have like some spice in there or something that like nobody's expecting.
Yeah. Speaking of spice, you want to talk about your obvious spice here?
Yeah. So my obvious spice, honestly, one of them I did not ever use in the main event.
That was
Giacomo. At 522. Which was Giacomo. So, if those of you that are looking at my list are wondering, well, why is Giacomo in there? I'm like, well, Giacomo is literally there just for the mirror match. It's literally, I want it in there as a mirror match. It reduces the damage output of a Melodious Echo attack or ISOQ attack. If they have, like, if for some chance somebody was running a 4DT, which is not going to be a good call, especially with Spiritomb, I only hit one Spiritomb, and that didn't even stop me because Fusion.
Yeah, Fusion's pretty powerful.
But it's literally there to just slam them and just basically have them hit a dead stop. if possible. It's a really good card. It's just it depends on the matchup is when you
And
play
like
it.
you said, you didn't hit any
No,
Mews at all.
I
So
did not hit any Mews at all. And I'll talk about my matches here in a second. Then the other one that a lot of people sometimes will tech in, but you don't see it that common in Mew really anymore. Like you saw it for a while, but you don't see it really anymore, is Penny. So a lot of people are probably looking at it and being like, well, why do you have a Penny instead of a second Switch card? Like it almost do the same thing. I'm like, almost. But the thing with Penny is, if they boss up a Jenny, which I had happen multiple times, and you don't have that Switch card, and they put like a lot of damage on it, especially from a Lost Box, you can be like, Penny it up. Well, you can first use the Fusion Strike system ability, then you use Penny, scoop it up, you promote a Mew to the active, and then you can throw down the Genesect again, and now you have another Fusion Strike ability. So you can use Fusion Strike system 5 times in one turn, essentially, when you Penny. And Penny honestly did a lot of work for me throughout this tournament. There was multiple times that I used it, because I hit 4 Lost Zone matchups, only losing to 1 in round 9.
yeah, again, John Hang.
Yeah. um, and that threw off their math so hard because one of my matchups was a Kyogre, and the Kyogre was trying to get a big knockout turn, and they just could not do it. And Penny just literally saved me because instead of them getting 4 prizes, they could have only got 2. Because they used all their resources, and so Penny put in a lot of work. Um,
So if you were to cut the Giacomo, what would you put in its place?
if I was to cut the Giacomo, I would probably put a Silene because I had actually brought my Silene with me that used to be in one of my other versions of this list in case I hit Giacomos, or like say like I'm doing a lot of matchups where I might need to fix some math with Power Tablet, but then I need those Power Tablets later on. You can just Silene them back into the deck and just hold them onto them. Um, so yeah, I mean that's honestly the first thing I would swap. The only other consideration that I would probably maybe consider swapping Giacomo with is honestly another Switch card. Like because of how well the Penny did, I don't think I would take the Penny out. I honestly love the Penny in the list.
All right. Well, that is Ransfield Diffusion Mew. We're gonna hit some pictures real quick, just to kind of once again celebrate the fact that we were at NAIC. I met a lot of people while we were there. Didn't quite get pictures with everyone. Didn't actually meet everyone I wanted to. There were so many people to meet. There were people that I didn't even realize were there until they had already left, and I was really upset I didn't get to talk to them. Like I would have loved to have met Kevin Clementi. Never got a chance to actually meet him. Never saw him. Knew he was there, but never actually
Sander
saw him.
unfortunately was not able to attend
Sander was
this
not
year.
there. No, and like I mentioned Kevin by name, but there were a lot of people there that
Honestly,
I never even got a chance to
I
see.
was really hoping Sander could have made it because I wanted to see his obscene control Paldea evolved list.
Like I know for a fact LDF was there. I never saw him.
And that's funny because like literally every time you were out of the venue, LDF was literally always around me. Like
Yeah.
everywhere I turned, it was like, oh, there's LDF. Oh, there's LDF.
Yeah,
Oh, he's
but I
all the
wasn't
way
there
over
when
there.
he was.
But it's like
It's crazy.
just whenever your presence wasn't there, he was there. Whenever you were there, he was gone.
Yeah, but let's talk about a couple people that were there. I got pictures with Skarzig, Adam Watson, and Frosted Caribou or Shelby Boo. Just good to meet them. Good to say hey. Obviously, they're both casters for Pokemon Company International. Skarzig was kind of the main TCG host for this weekend at NAIC, and Shelby was one of the casters. Both did great work. Very glad to be able to meet them and say hey. On top of that, I also got to meet one of the casters that Limitless has used quite a bit in Europe, the Hotshot himself, Bert's TCG. You can see his channel icon on the right there. I got to meet a fan too. That was awesome. I'm really glad to meet everyone that I met this weekend. Didn't get pictures with everyone again. Kind of screwed up in that respect. Wish I had done a little bit better about getting pictures with everyone. But yeah, it was good to see everyone. And then got pictures with Gus Win hosts. Got a picture with Steuben. Ran into Steuben probably a dozen times at NAIC. And with Gazer, it was so hard to find him. I was starting to wonder if the real scam was that he just didn't exist in the first place. I could not find him. We ended up finally meeting up after like an hour of trying to figure out where each other were, but we did manage to find one another and meet up. I also got to meet Justin from the PCS podcast. That was pretty cool. And then you'll also see. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't listened to Gus Win, if you haven't listened to PCS podcast, definitely listen to those podcasts. They are great. You'll enjoy them. And then, real quick, we're gonna jump into some pictures from Ryan. I'll let Ryan do some explaining on these pictures.
So over the course of, I've only been to 3 major events for Pokemon. NAIC last year was my first major event. Then it was Arlington Regionals, and then NAIC 2023. Over the course of playing and nonstop watching, I really enjoy Gym Leader Challenge. So there's a lot of people I really look up to, and I enjoy meeting people um, when I go to conventions. Um, on the right, you have me with Tord Redcliffe. Probably if you play the TCG, you know who Tord Redcliffe is. Like he is the only player that has all 4 different region international wins. LAIC was the last one that he was missing, and he got that at the beginning of the 2023 season. To the left of Tord, there's a person dressed up as Meowscarada. They're taking pictures with
Everyone,
even little kids outside the main hall, like just being Meowscarada, and like all the kids were loving it. And this person had a blast doing this. The cosplay is really, really great, really funny. And then to the left of that, you have Raul Reddy. A lot of people know who Raul is. Big congrats to him because he actually did get his first any North American International Championship Day 2, and he did place pretty high up there as well, I believe.
he was top 4 at LAIC with Reggie Gigas too.
Yes. Unfortunately, there was, and he lost to actually a person in his testing group because I'm pretty sure he lost to Reagan. And Reagan is part of Raul's testing group. So I look up to Raul a lot. I really enjoyed all these players. Also, to the left of that, we have Andrew Mahone. More people probably know him as Tricky Jim, creator of the Gym Leader Challenge format, which might I add, I know earlier on Twitch, he was saying that he was really glad about, but I just want to also say it. There was over 300 players at the GLC side event at NAIC this year. That is insane that there was over 300 players for one tournament for Gym Leader Challenge.
Yeah, that's impressive.
So big congrats to Mahone and that format that he has created. I know a lot of people don't really like Singleton. I play Commander Magic, so I'm just used to it, but also the Gym Leader Challenge format seems like really fun to me. I actually did get Andrew to sign a couple cards in my GLC decks. I had Raul sign a card. I had Tord sign my V-Star marker. So like these are just people I have been looking up to and hope to continue to get inspiration from and all that. If anybody is ever like wanting pictures with people, just ask. It never hurts to ask, and most of the time people are not gonna be afraid to just take a picture with you. Or if you haven't, like I know one of our buddies, he's been really stressing because next year is gonna be his first year as a master's, so he's being really stressed right now. I told him like if you honestly want advice, like literally if you need advice, go from like these other players I've been playing for a long time and just ask what would you recommend as first year masters or first time playing, and people will tell you. Just ask.
Yeah. But that is it for our little presentation, and kind of it for this video, I think. Long story short, though, I think NAIC was quite a blast. We enjoyed the hell out of it. We hope to see everyone next year at NAIC, and then we'll probably be at least one of the regionals this year.
Yeah.
If there's a Dallas or Arlington regional, we'll probably be there. Unfortunately, work scheduling and just monetary situations means I'm not able to go to every event. But I do try to go to at least either NAIC and Worlds or the Texas Regional each year. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and leave you with a thank you for watching, and do please like the video. Lets people know that hey, this was something worth watching, and lets YouTube know that it can share the video for others, give them a chance to watch it too. Again, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next
Also,
video.
on a side note, we have found out that Eternal Bennett is really good against Eternal Lost Box.
Yeah, it's an auto loss for Lost Box. But that's a whole new tangent. When we get to some more Eternal content, we'll talk about some Eternal stuff. But yeah, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.